Hi guys, welcome in. We're here in the city of Avernum in Vagros, the Riven Realms. So we're going to continue with the story. This is a new day. We're very low on money. What this means is that we have to find a way to get a little bit of coins here. What is this? Javik lost loyalty. This happened the previous chapter. For some reason, Javik, the Black Knights. So we have to go and investigate the assistant magistrate Galudius Darrow. And finally, we return to Sedarias. The thing is that we went and we talked with the bounty hunters, the bounty hunters office, and we got this capture the outlaw chieftain, but also we talked with our contact here, Skorvar, I think it is the name, and he told us that if we kill the outlaw that the government here in the city is trying to find, he's going to give us more money and a little bit extra. We also have to capture a chakra alpha and an abomination. If we want to send the Kamitatus and ship the metal to Davin, we need first to conclude the situation here in the city with Sedarias. The thing is that we lost, I just found that we lost a little bit of loyalty with him for some reason. So he's kind of neutral, I think. The loyalty of the companion is in between him and the Kamitatus. Your choices and actions influence the standing, but each companion likes and dislikes different things. Talk to them to find out more. Oh, so there it is. There's actually a system of like Crusader Kings in which these guys will have an opinion of you. So there's an opinion system here. So it says that influence, talk to them to find out more. Better loyalty can open new story options with your companions, and with low loyalty this can lead to them abandon the crew. We have loyal, friendly, congenial, neutral, disgruntled, and resentful. So I just realized that. So what happens if we sell this? I don't think we're going to sell that. So what I'm going to do right now is to go straight to the investigation and Scorner, yeah, that's the name. We're going to follow up the investigation, and that is going to be it for the time being. And perhaps going to the fighting pit after that. So let's investigate. We're going to go to Slagfort here. So, to your mild amusement, the plan Sedarias came up with to lure in the assistant magistrate works. Upon arriving to the Slagfort, you tell one of the clerk slaves in service of the courts that you have news about some Sergorod followers you think were killed in the north. The slave asks you to wait until he reports this to one of the administrators. Before you can sit down with said bureaucrat, a clerk arrives to tell you that Assistant Magistrate Darrow will personally listen to your account. You're escorted to the offices on the top floor of the courts. You're told to knock and enter. Javik looks at you knowingly as you stand before the office door. Morwing is picking her nails. So Morwing is with us as well. You knock and enter. You find yourself inside a spacious office with small, slit windows looking out onto the courtyard of the Slagfort. There's a desk here with scrolls stacked up on one side and a few open ones lying on the mill. Maps of the region are on the walls, and the rows of shelves hold even more scrolls. A clerk slave busies herself with organizing these. A middle-aged man with a warm smile rises from the chair at the desk. This is Galodius. Sorry. He has dark eyes and receding hairline. Over his orange tunic is the stash of his office, a blue and purple with a silver clasp holding at his shoulder. He introduces himself as Galudis Darrow. My subordinates tell me you have news of a group of Sergorodites. We are awaiting a cohort of such constitution back to the city, but we're beginning to be worried that something happened to them as they are late. Perhaps you might have heard of them. So here's where we can do two things. Tell him that you did not know about this cohort, or tell him you've heard rumors in the city that such a company had left a while ago. We don't know about this cohort. Odd that you came here right away without gathering news in the city first. I would have thought a vagrant such as yourself is well informed, but oh well. I'm sure your patriotism got the better of you, because if I am understanding correctly, you are about to tell me bad news. He gestures toward the chair for you to sit down. You do as Javik and Morwin stand behind you. So, tell him the fake story Sedarias concocted, or you tell him that you were forced to come here by a road knight of the Black Sun. So this is going to be backstabbing the Black Sun knight, which we're not going to do. So we tell him what we were told to tell him. Just start at the beginning. You clear your throat before starting. My comitatus was traveling from Scrap Heap south along the Molten Tongue. We came around the Voiceless Lake. So we are basically going to choose how the story is going to follow. So we have the option to tell him that we participated in the battle, or that we heard the noises. We approached to the battlefield, and we found that bodies lying everywhere. And my scouts as well is one of the other options, telling him that we got news about the dead bodies. I think I'm going to go with this one. So you mean to say that there was no fighting going on by the time you arrived? Asks Darrow, eyebrows raised. This one is, I was just about to get that. My scouts. This is moderate. We can use this. I think we're going to use this, and we're going to go for... I was just about to get that. My scouts found a few undead, badly battered. They disposed of them quickly. Go on, says Darrow, scratching his chin thoughtfully. We checked the bodies, and there was a lot of undead, mostly the smoldering variant. It was clear that there was a great battle there. The other bodies all belonged to some group. They were all Sergorodites and their armed followers. A handful of them badly mutilated by the undead. We checked and found no survivors. We took no belongings, and we took some weapons and whatever valuables we could find on them. Let's say this one. Understandable, this must be of great value, and you are a businessman. Your report now makes up for what you took, Vacarus. You carry on with the report. You conclude that the story by telling him that you have not come across any undead or Sergorodites living or dead on your journey here. Did you see a knight among the bodies, perhaps? Tall fellow, blonde hair, broad shoulders, dark armor, and quite an exquisite helmet. Fights with a great sword, Darrow asks after a brief pause. You tell him you did not find anyone among the bodies matching the description, even though you checked them fairly thoroughly. The assistant magistrate thanks you and promises to bring the report before the high ups in the city. Should they decide to further question you, they'll find you at your berth. So you take the leave. Long after you've left the Slagfort, Javik tells you that the plan has worked. I read his thoughts on the matter. It is clear that he knew much about the setting of the trap. He got really upset when you told him Sedarias might be alive and well. He thought about his career and the prefect, but also to report this to someone called Hanvius as soon as he can. So we return to the Manzio. The other thing that we did is that we got the Viking. Let me show you here. That'll be the Viking was this guy. The Viking Skornar. So we got him to help us with the guild, but I don't know how to do that. Perhaps we can explore the city to do that. We can go to this fighting pit. I think we're going to do that right now. But let's explore the city. Go for a walk. Three brothers from Larnac seek you out upon your return to the Mansio after you've spent several hours exploring the city. The brothers heard about your comitatus and destination in the east. They would like to join you to share the burden of the road. All three of them are skilled fighters, and they would like to reach Ash, where where their associates are waiting for them. Now, Larnac. Larnac is a city that, by the way, here are all of the, well, they're pretty far away, by the way. 5 to 8 days. Well, the two guys are from Larnac. Okay, so here's Larnac. Larnac is the imperial city. It's an imperial city that stands on the site of the great tectum, that is a natural or artificial vault or shelter underground where many people survive the calamity. So it's like a bunker. Larnac has several tall watchtowers made of dark stone, but most of the city is underground, save from the deadly sun, either under the great sandstone domes with holes or even deeper in the ancient tectum that was converted to house thousands. Tunnels and corridors are its streets, while cavernous halls are its squares and buildings. A large gate that opens southwards leads into the Larnac, though it is not the only entrance, it is the only public one. The region was originally dotted with hills and small mountains, as well as continuous forests. Under these ranges were vast caverns carved by some ancient beings that the original inhabitants of the region only referred to as worms. Whatever these creatures were, they were huge and left a hive-like structure behind that survived into the calamity. This was used as a tectum by the ancestors of the Sadirar people who followed divine warnings and hid in the shelter. 3 centuries after the calamity, people emerged and went out into the desert, becoming Sadirar tribes that now inhabit the region, fully abandoning Larnac in the process. The 5th century brought imperial presence, and the city was resettled. With an outpost placed above the tectum, still under the dome filled with holes, because water can be found below Larnac, it became strategically important and soon rose to the status of a major imperial city. Sadirar emerged in the 6th century and waged a war against imperials in a bid to reclaim the site, which they considered sacred. Eventually, the war ended when diplomats convinced the tribesmen to settle down in Larnac with autonomy and control over the water reserves. Thus, Vitruar shamans have been in control of the water in Larnac ever since, to the slight dismay of imperial authorities. The 7th century marked the return of the worms. They caused great devastation, but eventually the combined forces of Imperial Dark Elven and Sadirar forces defeated them and drove them back into the deepest reaches of Arena's Vorax, where they dwell and breed to this day, out of sight and mind of most citizens. Yet the people of Larnac dread the day when the worms return and burrow into their homes. So they are going to be decline the request. These are the passengers. I'll send for you when we set out. It may take a few days to conclude my business here. Yeah, it is better to send them and say them that we're going to take them, but not right now. Take the brothers with you when you leave Avernum, not now. You walk the streets of the city under ashen skies, taking a few of your best with you. Avernum is large, a city of opportunities but also of untold dangers. One can find all sorts of interesting things if one looks. Let's go to the fighting pit. There isn't a real arena in Avernum, but no imperial city could be imagined without at least a fighting pit. The one in the city is fairly large, however, recently it has not seen a lot of fights in spite of public demand. You learn that no Lanista favors the place since a gladiator revolt a few months back, which left dozens dead and most pit fighters gone. It sounds like the legend of Spartacus, the guy that we have to capture, the outlaw. So, since then, the pit has been used for public executions only. That is about to change, however, as the new man in charge wants to see the place rise again. This might even give you an opportunity to have your companions fight in the pit as they are giving the chance to anyone right now. Seek out the medicos. It might be beneficial to your own crew. Bet on the fights. You are no expert in pit fights, but you might get lucky. Enter the roster. It's risky, but it might be worth it. Let's enter the roster. I'm going to put Morwen to fight. So Morwen, get ready. Falco, the man in charge, tells you that fights are arranged each day. Because of the lack of pit fighters and gladiators, all kinds of people have joined the roster. Local thugs, orc mercenaries, and poachers. There's even a fellow who sends his strange chakra into the arena. You can join the next fight here, but be mindful that it will progress the day afterwards. Fights can be attempted once, and if you lose, you cannot enter the pit fights again. Consecutive fights are progressively more difficult. Shed the first blood. Your first opponent will be a pair of local thugs who like violence a lot and decided that being paid for it in the pits is really the best thing that ever happened to them. They are called the Turgak brothers, even though they are not related. Waving their cheap weapons around, they manage to get a meager applause from the crowd. They follow that up with swearing, which earns them a bunch of angry shouts and booing. Your fighters enter the pit. I'm doing this because we really want the coin. So let's go. Going to place this guy here, and she is going to be placed here. Round 1. So we have here... These guys are not so powerful, by the way. So let's fight. Let us fight. So let's do a devastating blow. We're going to do the premonition. Yeah, of course. Now I'm going to give hypnosis. I'm going to control his mind and send him back. Then I can move her here. We can also do Mind Blast because why not? It's a good attack. Okay, now it's my turn. We can do Mind Blast again. And now it's time to hit this guy hard. Let's hit this one. That was a big critical. And I'm going to give her this. Okay, not bad. We're evading most of the shit here. So let's bring her here and give her this. It's time to kill this one. And right now, we're going to do Mind Blast. So we're going to, as it says here, frying his brain. She's not so powerful, by the way. Okay, victory in the arena. The slaves of the Medicas drag the limp bodies of the brothers out of the pit while your crew is cheered on by the crowd. Falco congratulates you and hands you a couple of copper coins. Ha ha ha. You're welcome to come back for more. The crowd seems to like your fighters. Take a look at that, Medicas. Who are these medicos? Is a professional healer or doctor? Their license usually comes from medical schools or from a senior medicus who takes students. Medicus are adept at using herbs, tinctures, potions, and other natural curatives. But they are also scholars as they study medicine and physiology for many years. These are medics, by the way. Magical healing is beyond the scope of medicus. They cannot do magical healing. Their services are rarely cheap, but are often sought after. So you pocket your winnings and take your companions to rest. 3 lyric, and 1 day has passed. What this means is that we can pay them pay now. We're going to hit a little bit of the maximum is 13. We're going to go 7. So then we're going to send workers to earn some coins, working in odd jobs. So let's send them to get coins and stuff. That's going to be fantastic. We're going to get a little bit of medicine with these guys, and we end the day. Fantastic. So now we have the opportunity. What is foundries here? They're open for commissions. We're going to go there, but first of all, we have to return to Sedarias' hideout. Let's see. This is the journal. Let the brothers join the comitatus at the gates. Then we have the Black Knight. So now we return. I just hope that Sedarias is going to give us a little bit of money. Sedarias' hideout is in a tumble-down set of stone buildings about a block away from the Temple of Slagfort. You can reach it by going into the enclosed courtyard of several houses, entering the cellars, and ascending a well-hidden set of stairs. The apartment that Sedarias occupies is owned by the church, but few know of it, even among the anointed, so it's a little bit hidden. Now, ask Sedarias to pay for your gate tax. We're not doing that. Ask him about the Knights of the Black Sun. Report your findings on the 3 suspects. Finally, Sedarias says scornfully, when you return and tell him you are done with the investigations, there are a few other Sergorodites in the room watching silently. You recount everything you learned in the last few days, and Javik details his mental scans. Sedarias and his cronies listen intently. Following your report, Sedarias goes behind closed doors with 2 priests of Sergorod and a couple of executors, while you are told to stay put for now. They emerge after a quarter of an hour, and the executors leave right away. The knight approaches you with an uncharacteristic smile on his otherwise grim face. We've got them now, Vagras. Thanks to the information you provided, we have located the traitors' headquarters in the city. A long yellow building, the district of Scoria, and a man named Hanvius. It so happens that Gaius Hanvius, a wealthy merchant and city official who is known to be conducting shady businesses in the name of the prefectus, owns a large yellow warehouse in Scoria. The whole block is abandoned, making it an ideal place for a hideout. That may not mean anything, Javik starts to say with a frown before Sedarias interrupts him. No, they are there. All of us can sense their treacherous stench, and Sergrod's servants are never wrong about such things. The way he says it shuts Javik up for good. Bring your men, Vagrus. We strike as soon as you are ready. Okay, this is a little bit problematic. Okay, we have several options here. We can say we like the empire. We are, we are nationalists and stuff, and honor stuff like that. But we can say that that'll cost you extra. I will tell him this. I don't care if he's getting angry. This is more of what we are signed up for. We can say, wait a moment, you tell him you were to help with the investigation, nothing more, but that would be a little bit naive, a little bit, I don't know. I think that'll cost you extra is the best option. I think this guy is overstepping here. I don't care if he's a nobleman at the end of the day. You tell him that it's more than you sign up for. Sedarius looks at you for some long, silent moments before speaking. The priests are also fixing you with their grim gazes. I told you the Empire needed you and your crew to conclude the investigation on the Abolitionists until their nest is destroyed. The investigation is not concluded. The local temple will send every able hand to set up an ambush on the warehouse, but with your help, we will be able to guarantee nobody escapes the snare. Do not fail me in this, and the Order will be grateful. It seems like you won't be able to get more from him just yet. Okay, leaving the hideout, you set out to the Mancio. You can see how Javik is worried, he sighs. I don't like where this is going, boss. The last thing we needed was getting involved in this conspiracy with the local underworld, the city's leaders, bandits, and the damn fanatics all tearing each other apart with us in the middle. For the first time in a long while, I don't know what you're thinking. Just when you are about to say something, he goes on, you don't have to say anything. Just know that this is how I see things now. And also that many fellows in the crew are thinking the same. We know there's little you can do to get rid of our nightly parasite at present, but keep in mind what we originally set out to do. You keep walking thinking about what he said. And this is a little bit worrying. The two of you return to the mansion. You can't help thinking about how this will end. Prepare for what is to come. Now, let's take a look. We have insight here. We can go for getting this. So I think it's going to be important to go up in cost 14 insight to increase the resourcefulness. I'm not going to spend that much. Authority is going to cost 6 insight. Authority, let's remember that authority dictates how many assigned deputies you can have at any given time. Okay, we have a maximum of 6. So what this means? Well, this means that authority also makes your companions more tolerant with the decisions you make. With higher authority, lessening the loyalty losses for companions. Bonuses that raise maximum authority beyond 6 have no effect. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm going to go for... this is going to cost... Well, the more you go up, the more it's going to cost in insight. But I'm going to go to charismatic. Charismatic is the character innate ability to inspire devotion and earn trust. I think I'm going to go for a very charismatic one. I'm going to go for the sharpness of the character senses and attentiveness. It is used in events, or strong-minded, or tough. Measure of the character's stamina and constitution. We can also do traverse, which you can use resourcefulness to turn march points into movement points, which I'm going to do. And that's it. That's it. I think we're good. So we have confirmed this. We have 3 renown. That's fantastic. Proceed with the ambush, but we can still do the following. We can go to the fighting pit. We can go to the fighting pit. So we're going to go for beyond the fights. You are no expert in pit fights, but you might get lucky. Enter the roster. There we go. Falco, the man in charge, tells you that fights are arranged each day. Because of the lack of pit fighters and gladiators, all kinds of people have joined the roster. There's even a fellow who sends his trained Jakra to the arena. You can now join, fight in the arena. Today's fight sets you up against the trained Jakra of the magnificent Lucius, a former stable hand. Stable hand? Javik scoffs at seeing the beasts and says they are as trained as any other wild specimen of their species out in the wastes. They just toss them into cages and let them into the pit when the fight begins. As a matter of fact, they look malnourished and demoralized. However, one should never underestimate a hungry beast. Let's get on with it. Wow, there are 3. Okay. Let's do this. Mind Blast, I think it's going to work. Now, let's remember that we can also do the defensive mode. So let's go for... Can we use prepare, boost the initiative of the companions, or inspire? We can aid. We can do it. Why are we evading this thing? What the hell? So let us... Okay, instead of Mind Blast, Hypnosis. Move behind. Split this guy. Oh, I wanted to lure him, but it was not possible. It says Javik slices at a foe with his curved blade, if only to be able to move away. Okay, we lure him. Why he evade me? We did it. So now we have more coin. The three chakra lie dead on the sand, the last one to fall, still twitching and gurgling. Their trainer looks less magnificent now, bent over the bodies of his deadly pets, sobbing loudly as the crowd laughs at his display of weakness. Falco congratulates you and hands you a couple of copper coins. You're welcome to come back for more. The crowd seems to expect your fighters to return. 7 lyric. That's fantastic. We're gaining a lot of money here. So let's go for this. Let's find a little bit of stuff here. Let's do this with some of them. Defiant. Slaves are defiant. Wait, we don't want them to be defiant. It's because we don't have food or something. Okay, let's do this one. Good. So, it is time, I think. Yeah, it is time to go to the warehouse. Or we can go again to the... Why not visiting the sorcerer? Let's visit the sorcerer here. The Tower of Incanus. The sorcerer stands at the border of the hill, overlooking the streets and alleys filled with foundries and forges on the northeast side of Avernum. Half engulfed in smog, the tower stands much taller than any building nearby. The soot-covered walls made of black stone are so smooth that it looks almost seamless. A line of gigantic fang-like spikes crowns the flat top of the tower. You walk up to the iron gate, where a large eye carved out of obsidian comes alive and gives you a good stare before emitting a strange moan and becoming motionless again. The gates open slowly to reveal a spacious antechamber that you enter. The roof is supported by black, smooth stone pillars. Magical lights float sleepily around like fireflies. There are sofas and chairs here, enough to seat a dozen guests in great comfort. Somehow, the place feels odd. It is many times larger on the inside than it should be judging from the outside. The imposing figure of Incanus stands motionless in the center of the antechamber and greets you in a monotone voice. You can't figure out if he's bored or simply lacks emotions in general, but he's courteous and very perceptive. You can only feel his piercing gaze from under the large hood of his crimson robes. There is something on your mind, Vagrus, something you hope I'll provide a solution for, and you know that I'll have a prize. Tell me what you can about the last pilgrimage. Haha. He is a collector of rarities and curious. Perhaps he's interested in one of your items. Pay him to identify something for you. Tell me what you can about the last pilgrimage. The sorcerer hesitates only a little before motioning with his long-fingered hand for you to sit down. You comply. Something tells me that you've had an encounter with this cavalcade of spirits. Tell me about it, he says after he pockets your coin and sits down himself. You carefully recite your chance meeting with the last pilgrimage. Every now and then, Incanus interrupts you to ask very specific questions about your experiences with the specters. He seems especially interested in your vision that triggered when the undead procession was near. Incanus stays silent and motionless for a long while after you finish telling the story. At length, he stirs and asks you in a rasping voice, "What is it exactly that you'd like to know? What is the last pilgrimage? How did it come to be? What happens when they run into someone? Is it possible that they are following me? Can they be defeated somehow? What could my visions mean? Hmm. What happens when they run into someone? Now that they are cursed to wander the wasteland eternally, they appear suddenly and disappear shortly after. Most of the time, nobody knows where they are. But when they appear and come into contact with someone, the person is gone forever. Therefore, a clear account of such a meeting is non-existent. One theory suggests that such unfortunate individuals are assimilated into the pilgrimage and wander as disembodied spirits, walking the same eerie path as the tormented souls of the original pilgrims. Others suggest that the cavalcade sustained itself by drawing on the life essence of its victims. Nothing of them is ever found afterwards. How do we know this? Sometimes people were able to observe such encounters from a safe distance. The pilgrimage was known to have destroyed fairly large comitati, so they do not only attack small groups or individuals. Naturally, the number of their victims is vastly overstated. There are studies of these beings, studies that collected all the reports of their appearances throughout the centuries following the calamity. It seems that they never ever appear south of the Twin Towers, which they failed to reach while alive. It is also quite clear that given the short time between encounters at distant locations, the pilgrimage travels via magical means. The most popular notion is some form of teleportation because nobody ever encountered them in the outer realms. However, they do have the tendency to haunt a specific region or area for a while before moving on. Incanus leans back in his chair and folds his hands. However, there never was anyone who met the pilgrimage twice, so closely, and lived. I find that extraordinary. Wow. So what are the Twin Towers? The Twin Towers are located here, apparently. So they do not go farther than this area. Okay. What this means is that the Twin Towers are ancient fortifications guarding the main mountain pass of the Sepis Mountains. I believe that the Sepis Mountains are this. If there's no trace of what are the name of those mountains, which has always been the border between the province and the lands beyond. Terra Supra in Imperial. Throughout Imperial history, one of the forts sits on the western, the other on the eastern slope of the pass, only a mile from each other. I believe it is this place, right? This area, this is the pass that they are talking about. There you go, Sepis Mountains. So these are the land beyond, and we are here in the northern areas. The Terra Supra. So one of the forts sits in the west part and the other in the east. Though this keeps were of chief importance during the early mid-Third Age, they soon fell into disrepair due to the relative peace ruling the Empire Middle regions for centuries on end. Having survived the calamity, the forts were used as staging grounds for the reclamation of the northern territories. The last time a sizable force occupied them was during the Orc War. However, and the western fort suffered great damage when it was besieged and subsequently sacked. Since then, only the eastern fort is maintained, yet it only supports a token garrison whose main task is to gather road tax from travelers. The outer realms are the infinite dimensions that were formed at the creation of the universe and served as the foundation of reality. So this is not like Terra Supra, this is the outer realms. These dimensions were the home of the elder gods and their host of proxies prior to the calamity. The individual worlds, or realms as they are called, are connected by the outer realms. And although travel is possible normally, for the most part, the vast distances necessitate the use of gates, portals. One can pass through to get somewhere instantly. The outer realms were created at the dawn of time by the gods. According to some religions, were coming into being by themselves. Some sages even suggests that they were formed gradually as the intricate conduits between mortals and gods slowly filled the universe with an extended reality. Whatever the case, the outer realms are so unimaginably vast that nobody, not even the gods of present day, has seen it all. In its focal point lies the Well of Ol, which is the source of all creation according to imperial religion. However, it was obscured by the elder gods long before their departure, and thus no new realms or beings can be created. The most prominent landmarks of the outer realms are Mount Shin and the Abyss. The former being the the outer realms are the Mount Shin and the Abyss, the former being the abandoned and haunted seat of the elder gods, while the other is the prison of Omkio, father of all demons, who is chained at the bottom of the endless void. Tartaris, the underworld, is also part of the outer realms, containing parts of the great void that is called the Abyss. The damned, the great army of the demon princes, has reclaimed most of that accursed pit and uses it as a staging ground to invade most of the outer realms. Indeed, apart from abandoned reaches and some still standing forts like Karat Run, most of the outer realms have been decimated by the onslaught of demonkind, so traveling through it has been perilous in recent millennia. During the calamity, the continent of Sharin has suffered such immense arcane damage that the boundaries between the riven realms and the outer realms broke in numerous places, and thus hundreds, if not thousands, of unstable but permanent gates were created, often obscured by local anomalous activity. Thus, many being normally kept out of sharing by the rules set down by the elder gods eons ago could now enter through these cracks and make a new home in the riven realms. This is the main reason for the existence of Demon King and outright demons in the Riven realms, as well as for the presence of some realms walking races such as the Kolrish, the Ogres, or the Ithil. The explored gates were subsequently used to create a fast ways to travel over vast distances. Many of these are owned by powerful sorcerers or the Empire itself. Very interesting things that we have discovered here. You are sweating. What else would you like to know? What could my vision mean? No account of an encounter with the pilgrimage that I can recall speaks of visions, only apparitions and eerie lights. Yours and that of your companion seems to be a unique reaction. I wonder if it has anything to do with your telepathic companion. The sorcerer glances at Javik, who is standing a few yards away, leaning at a pillar. Unlikely, your friend says, frowning. At our second encounter with these beings, I was busy holding our beasts of burden from running away with my mind, so I did not see any visions at all. How would it be connected to me if I was the only one not to see anything? I concur. Incanus nods and turns back to you. Unfortunately, dreams, visions, and phantasms are not my area of expertise. I suggest you seek out an oneiromancer or a shaman, perhaps. The Sadirar tribes to the south and west have shamans who are said to communicate with the elements and spirits of the world. It may be that such a person could tell you more. So not him, but a shaman. Sadirar are humans who live in the inhospitable deserts of the Syrian plains. We discussed those before. Okay, what else can we understand of this? What is the last pilgrimage? How did it came to be? So it's going to be better to hear it from him. This pilgrimage was initiated just before the calamity, according to the legend. They say that weeks of odd and deadly omens preceded the catastrophe itself. Rain of blood, purple skies, weird apparitions, visitations from the dead, that kind of phenomena. Initially less in frequency and intensity, the omens were taken as divine warnings by all. However, the interpretation of these signs differ vastly. One group of high priests believed that the elder gods sent these because imperials strayed from the right path somehow. They initiated their wrath, and the gods had to be appeased. Thus, they converged in the north, either in Tot or in Mortakpolis. Where is it? Is it here? I can see Mortakpolis in here. Okay, never mind. So, nobody knows for certain, and they gathered a vast procession of followers and lesser clergymen around them. The priest then announced that in order to earn the forgiveness of the gods, they were to walk to the capital and pray along the way. They cast down all the rich garments and trinkets and set out barefoot and full of hope. Incanus holds a dramatic pause. Yet their hopes and prayers were in vain, as the pilgrimage gained followers by the thousands while they proceeded south along the Emperor's Road. The calamity struck. Most of the pilgrims die in agony as the cursed winds tore their flesh off their bones and rived their souls. But the priests endured. I did not say lived on purpose. Twisted and reanimated by the dark power of the cataclysm, they rose again as undead abominations and continued their journey. Only now they appear and disappear without any discernible logic and move in strange angles as a ghastly procession of specters. They are doomed to wander forever, never reaching their goal, never resting, never knowing peace, and never gaining the forgiveness of the gods, because these gods are dead and gone. You shudder under the sorcerer's gaze. Okay, so is it possible that they are following me? Oh, that is the question. Incanus scratches his scrawny beard with skeletal fingers. All information collected by the wise throughout the centuries, as well as anecdotal accounts, tell us that the appearance of the pilgrimage is completely random, and there has never been anyone recorded who encountered them twice. Not even madmen who were looking for them. So when you told me about the 2 times you've met the pilgrims, I was skeptical, yet I can see that you are telling the truth. The sorcerer cleansed his throat. There are 2 possibilities, I believe. 1. It was indeed chance, however minuscule, that you happened upon them a second time. The chances of a third encounter are negligible. 2. They were roaming a specific region, in this case Arenas Nigris, and because there is practically nobody in that region, they converged on the only living beings nearby, your comitatus. In any case, I'd avoid the desert of Black Sands and its border ranges for a while, if I were you, and thank the gods for surviving 2 such chance meetings. Can they be defeated somehow? Let me answer your question with a question. Incanus leans forward. If it was possible, why do you think no one has ever managed to do so? You gulp involuntarily. That is all. You thank Incanus for his help. Okay, leave for now. You did everything you came here for. Okay, and finally, we go for the fighting pit. According to Falco, your next opponent are 2 ex-soldiers from an auxiliary legion, expert slingers both, who ended up becoming poachers in the area after gambling away their veteran annuity. The last member of their team is a tracker they befriended in one of the worst drinking holes in the city. They are probably more of a threat than one would think, having made it this far in the pit fights. Oh, this is going to be difficult. I think it was not a good idea. Okay, let's... Okay, this is not going well. Wait, we gotta defeat. To your surprise, the poachers are victorious after an intense battle. As your companions are dragged out of the pit, the victors are cheered on by the crowd. Falco hands you a bit of compensation. Unfortunately, he adds, your career in the pit is over here, but you are welcome to return to watch and place bets. Well, we got a little bit of coin. So, these guys are mutinous. They don't want anything.